Guys, can you believe that this woman actually loves marketing, loves launching? That's like my least favorite topic to speak on because I have so much to learn in that area. Today, we have an amazing speaker with us. We have Alexa Bigwarfe. I've been following you and stalking you for a long time, Alexa. And the work that you do with the Women in Publishing Summit, the webinars you do, the training that you have has all been world class. I was just really excited to participate in the Women in Publishing Summit as a speaker this year. And I also was able to get behind the scenes and watch all of those amazing presentations you pulled together. I don't know how you do it. I feel like there's got to be more than one of you. And I'm just so happy that you took time out of this amazing things that you do to be here with us and talk about the topic of just publishing, launching right, marketing your books. And guys, can you believe that this woman actually loves marketing, loves launching? That's like my least favorite topic to speak on because I have so much to learn in that area. So when these things come up, I'm going to people like Alexa and saying, come on down and let's chat about this topic because she's my go-to for it. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming Alexa Bigwarfe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk to you all. I have a children's book publishing company, Purple Butterfly Press. I really started ramping that up in the last year and a half. My first author published with me in 2018, and we slowly added some books in there, but I love children's books. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation and share my screen. So the title of this is How to Smash Your Book Launch. If you've been in my community, you've probably seen some version of this because it's my favorite webinar to give. And being that you are all just coming out of your launching thing, it's important. This is the perfect topic for you to talk about getting out there and doing your book launch. So who I am, I'm a mom, I'm an author coach, a publisher, book launcher, podcaster, and I host the Women in Publishing Summit, which is my favorite thing to do because I think of all the things that I do, of all the titles that I carry. The one, and my slide says the one I do that's most enjoyable is launching books. And that is true. But on a bigger scale in my business, the thing that I enjoy the most is being a connector and being an educator. So not only sharing what I'm learning and sharing what I know from doing all these interviews and podcasts and summits and all these things, but also making sure that people in this space know of the resources that are available to them, because it's really easy to get sucked into tools, programs, coaches, businesses, all those types of things that can be the right thing or the wrong thing for you at the time. So I love bringing those resources forward. A little bit about who I am and what I do. Again, I started Write, Publish, Sell about 10 years ago after I self-published a couple of books on my own, and people started coming to me and saying, I want to write a book too. How did you do this? And then when they got to the part of formatting their books and loading it to all the places and figuring out all that stuff that April has just taught you all about in the last few months, they didn't want to do that. So a lot of people were coming to me, and I started out mostly as a service provider. As I was doing these services for people, I found myself answering a lot of questions, talking to them, coaching through them. And I realized I love teaching. I love sharing what I'm doing. So I started more coaching type stuff and then my online summits to bring in other people that also have huge knowledge base, like April, who came in to talk about A+ content this year in our Women in Publishing Summit. I started Cat Biggie Press because that's the imprint that I came up with. Surely you all have talked about creating imprints with publishing your books. And I chose the name Cat Biggie Press because of the reason that I started writing, which is not a happy story. My youngest child of 3 is 10 years old. When I was pregnant with her, she was actually an identical twin. And they had a very severe syndrome that impacts 20% of identical twins, which is called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. They were born almost 10 weeks early. And my daughter, Catherine, had far too many obstacles to overcome. We were grateful to get to see her and hold her and love her for 2 days. And then she left us. And that impacted me, as you can imagine, tremendously. I started blogging about grief and loss and NICU and environment and having one twin and one dying and all of this stuff. And when I decided to write my first book, Sunshine After the Storm, a survival guide for the grieving mother, I was doing my research and realized you need to have an imprint to look professional. So I thought a lot about what I wanted that to be. And I had been blogging anonymously under the name Cat Biggie because I had a lot of things to say and I wasn't sure I wanted everyone to know who was the voice behind some of these words. So her name was Catherine Bigwarfe. So I created a persona of Cat Biggie. And when it came time to creating my press, I called it Cat Biggie Press. That was the first one. Then came along Purple Butterfly Press, which is our children's book. And then Chrysalis Press is our newest endeavor. And it is all women's fiction. And we are slowly moving out the door with that one. Your most important asset for anything you do, but certainly your launch, is your reader. You have to think about your reader when you're writing your book, when you're creating your book, when you're doing all the things, but definitely when you're marketing your book. And why is this? I would imagine if you've just gone through a self-publishing course, you are all self-publishing. So I think I'm pretty safe in that assumption here. Yes. So you are doing the work of everything. You are taking on the role of what a publisher would do for you. You are the marketer. You are the HR. You are the financier. You are everything. So as you're thinking about doing all these roles that a publisher would do for you if you were going that route, you have to think about how you are going to make the same kind of splash on the publishing world, assuming you want to sell books. Anybody who has invested in a course, in a program to learn about publishing more and marketing more, I have to assume wants to actually sell their books. So you have to think about when you're marketing, first and foremost, who are you marketing to? What are their interests? How do you talk to them in a way that's going to make them care? You're all children's book authors. So some people might say, this is easy. Children are my audience. No, children are not your audience. Children are your consumers. Your audience is the parents, the grandparents, the teachers, the caregivers, the school counselors, the pediatrician, the audiologist, the speech pathologist, whatever it is that the topic of your book goes to, you have the people there that are going to be consuming and sharing about your book. When we talk about launch, often I will talk about the importance of your role in showing up in front of your audience, be it through social media, through podcasts, through blogging, through writing content in other places, all those types of things. And what you have to consider is, what can I do to make myself valuable enough to these people that they want to pay attention to me? Because at the end of the day, a lot of times people follow authors, one, because they see good, interesting things, but two, because they're interested in the bigger topic. Big part of launching your book is growing a fan base of readers, of people who are interested in you, of people who are interested in your topic. But it's still scary as heck to put yourself out in front of an audience of people and to share yourself and to share your topics. But you can't just post about your book, right? You have to be talking about these topics in whatever you're doing, whether it's on podcasts, whether it's on interviews, however you're getting out in the world. You want to be talking about your big picture topic so that you're bringing in people into your audience that are interested in the big picture. And then hopefully they'll be interested in your book, because people matter at the end of the day. And for self-published authors, the best way to sell books is to grow an audience of people who like you, people who are interested in your topic. And then when they see that you have a resource for them that they can share with their children, that they can educate their children with, that they can share with their school, with their libraries, all those types of things, it makes a difference. What I'm going to try and cover, I want to talk about goals and realistic expectations for your launches. I want to talk about how to get in front of the readers and reviewers, how to build your author platform, and tips for setting yourself up for success. And then I'm going to go through some really fun case studies. Again, this particular presentation is over a year old. I gave this the first time in September 21, but the reason I chose this for tonight is because it has two really great examples from children's book authors, and I wanted to make sure that we covered this. Most importantly, I want you to know that marketing can be super fun. And the way you make it fun is you figure out like your target audience and you talk to them like they're your friends. You give them stuff that you know is going to be engaging to them. You create materials that you know that are going to be useful to them. If you're doing a book on climate change, have you been considering what you can put out there depending on the age range? Okay, go with middle range elementary school is what I'm trying to pull. So maybe second and third grade, where they're super interested in learning. They're starting to learn about recycling. recycling and the earth and Earth Day and all these types of things, and how all of these things have an impact on the earth. So activities that parents can do with their kids, activities that teachers can do with the kids, lesson plans, important knowledge that when you think about social media and who's following you on social media, it's the parents. So important knowledge about climate change, all the stuff that came out this summer with that terrifying report that nobody saw in the US, but that they talked about every single day when I was overseas, about we have 80 years before our earth basically explodes from everything that's happening in the climate change. At least that's what they were reporting in France. So, those types of things where you're putting out there and saying, listen, moms and dads, if you want your grandchildren to raise grandchildren, we got to make a difference. And here's a book that you can give to your children to teach about these types of things. That's what I'm talking about. Bringing your passions forward with you in a way that you can rile up the crowds, talk to them, provide them stuff, get them interested in your topic. And then your book is a perfect tool for them to use as they're sharing with their children or teaching or doing all of those types of fun things. And with book launches, you have the opportunity to go all over the place with it. You can do giveaways. You can do coloring pages, stickers, mugs, cups, whatever you want to give away, magnets, all kinds of fun things while you're doing activities. Things like that are a really great way to engage your community and give them something to do around your book topic. So this was just an example that I gave in the original version of this, talking about our girl, Linda, and her number one new release. But this is what we're aiming for, right? If there's nothing else that's fun about book launching, seeing a number one new release tag on your book is fun. I can guarantee you. I haven't had an author yet tell me that wasn't really cool, and make sure you're watching and screenshotting and all that stuff. That's fun. But it takes planning, hard work, consistent efforts, focusing on that reader, making sure that people know what your book is about and how you're getting into it, using the best practices. And I always throw in good writing because it's important that your book has to be good. Obviously, with children's books, it's a little bit different than memoirs and longer text. But anyway, so when you're thinking about your launch, I'm assuming that in your programming, you've already talked about the who's going to buy your book, why. Here are some more details that you think about, like why. This is something a lot of people don't think about. They know, okay, I'm writing a children's book. So parents of kids in my age range of 3 to 5, 3 to 6, 12 years, whatever it is, they're going to want to buy the book, or the librarian or the teacher or the, whomever. But why? Have you thought about that? Why do they want your book? I have a children's book publishing that just published, actually, and it's called The Kindness Machine by Christina Dankert. And the why is because right now the world is just on fire with meanness. And through COVID, it's just crazy how mean people seem. It's understandable. When we're in crisis, we tend to lash out, right? And her whole goal is spreading kindness and teaching it from a very young age. But the bigger why is that there's a lot of books on kindness. They teach kindness in general, but they don't teach kindness of self. And so when she wrote this book, she said, I want kids to also understand that part of spreading kindness in the world is knowing how to be kind to ourselves. And that's part of her book. So that's the why behind that. People who want to teach their children kindness, but also want to teach that it's not just about me being nice to you, it's about me being nice to me too. What is the connection between what you're writing on and between emotional connections of what people get with whatever you're writing about? And I might sound like a total crazy person right now, but I assure you this works. When you find out what matters to your audience and what makes them feel things and what makes them think, oh, yes, I remember that, or I have a connection to that, or this is important to me, or this is a value I want my children to have, or this is a skill set that I want them to have. People pay attention, they respond, they say, me too. Me too. That happened to me too. I agree with that. And they engage with you. They follow you. They comment on your post. They share your post. They do all of that. How does this have anything to do with your book launch? It's all about creating relationships with people, obviously build a relationship with you, who want to be part of your world, who then want to buy your book. It's not always the case with every author, I'm going to tell you, but a lot of times making that personal connection, getting their attention, being someone that they want to learn from, to engage with, to laugh with, whatever it is. These are the things that bring people into your audience. These are the ways you can make that emotional connection that make them want to buy your book, that make them want to share about your book, that make them want to review the book, recommend the book. For the launch team and for thinking about what's happening, if you've spent the time to think about your why, your who, your what's going to interest them, what can you talk about, how do you market it to them, who do you get in front of? And of course, up until this point, I've been talking largely about building your own author platform. I've been talking about the things that would do well for you on your own social media, on your own blog, on your own newsletter and things like that. We haven't even broached the topic of getting out there for like reviewers and editorial reviewers and all of those types of things. So I'm going to spend a little moment here because you may not consider some of these people as your team, but really it is part of putting things together when you consider all the elements that come together for a launch. So who's supporting you? These can be coaches. Obviously, you're in a course, your fellow authors. Hopefully, you've built some really great relationships with fellow authors in here that you can do swaps and support of each other. Hopefully, you're all following each other on social media and plan on sharing each other's content, looking at each other's books, reviewing each other's books, and all of that. But you've got to go beyond that as well. You've got to go out and find people who review books. Reviewers can be readers. So there's lots of reader sites out there that you can use. The paid sites like NetGalley, Edelweiss, which I don't know if indie authors can get through yet, or you have to go through distributor or publisher. But the Children's Book Review is a phenomenal site for those launching children's books, and they do book tours and editorial reviews and all kinds of promotional and marketing things at a variety of things. There's professional book tour companies like Love Book Tours, which does Instagram blasts and Instagram tours, and they do a lot of children's books. We've run a lot of our children's books through them, and they pull together reviewers who want access to books and who say, yes, put me on your team. I'll sign up to review these. And they do the schedule for you, where for a week at a time, 7 or 10 days, however many it is, you've got posts going out all over the place. You have bookstagrammers and book talkers and booktubers and just book bloggers and the book, everybody out there who's writing about books. And it's your job to find who's going to be the best to support you, whether you use a blend of all of those places and go out and look for them. And Google is your best friend for finding places like this, or connecting with other authors who have done these tours and finding out and creating the buzz around your book. Buzz is the buzzword forever and ever. Amen on book launches. You cannot sell books if nobody's talking about your books. Word of mouth marketing has been, is still, and I believe will always be the number one way to sell books. And the greatest example I can give of that is the way that I live my life every single day. I can't tell you how many times throughout a month or a 6-week or 2-month period where I will either see on social media, in an email list from my girlfriends, in my book club, or on a podcast I'm listening to, a recommendation of a book, somebody saying, I'm looking for this. What kind of books have you been reading like this? What kind of shows are you watching? All this happens all the time. And that crowdsourcing will come back and say, oh, you like thriller books. Well, I just finished this. It's the best. You got to read it, blah, blah, blah. And you get 56 recommendations when you do that, right? And so does everybody else who's following that thread. That is book marketing that you don't have to do because other people are doing it for you, but they have to know about your book. So how it impacts children's books is if you can get in front of the right people that will market your book for you, in front of teachers, in front of parents, in front of moms groups, in front of book clubs that might be particular for homeschooling moms. Homeschooling moms are a tremendous market. They buy content. They are at home constantly looking for ways to engage with their children and to bring in new education to them. So it's a great way to do it. But MOPS groups, any type of group of moms, and they actually have a speaker circuit, by the way, where you get to go in if they select you to come into different places and talk to their groups. It's all moms of preschoolers. So if your audience is that preschooling group, then you want to be there. And then, of course, post-launch and even right at launch time, school visits are a huge thing. And now that it looks like we can, please God, put COVID mostly behind us, those in-person school visits should start opening up again. And if not in person, many are doing virtual visits as well. And those are just, obviously the way to get in front of the children and in front of the parents is by showing up at the schools and being there. How many times has this happened to you where your child comes home and says, Mom, an author's coming to school tomorrow and I need to buy the book. And here's the thing. And you're like, whatever, go to school, and do it. And then they come home, or maybe that comes out a week before the visit. And then they come home the day of the visit and they're like, Mom, this author came to school today. This just happened to me last week. He brought a book about puppies. You know how much I want a puppy. I need this book. And then you buy the book. It's perfect marketing, right? So school visits have got to be on every children's book author's, maybe not launch plan, but definitely your marketing plan throughout. Influencer marketing, from what I've seen, I've done a lot of book tours and a lot of things, and our book sales don't necessarily have any kind of impact immediately after an influencer marketing. So what you want to use these influencer tours for the most as possible is to grow your platform and then use your platform as smartly as you can to take action on the new growth by doing things to get people on your email list and all of that. So reviewers again. And the other thing that the influencer tours do. So there's a difference between just hiring one influencer with 15,000 people or 25,000 people and asking them to post about your book, as opposed to a book tour, like with Love Book Tours or with Children's Book Review or things like that, because these folks are actually leaving book reviews and they will leave them on Goodreads. If you have it with everybody's book can be on Goodreads and people can leave reviews prior to your launch. Goodreads is a powerful tool that authors need to be using because it is the one place where people can leave reviews all the time, no matter what. They don't get rejected. Nobody's policing those reviews, and you can leave them before launch, after launch, whenever, as long as the book is on pre-order at least. But a lot of them, once the book is available on Amazon, they'll also leave their reviews on Amazon. And you think to yourself, okay, so I got some reviews, but I didn't get any sales. I'm telling you, in the beginning, those reviews are far more worth it to you than sales for a couple of reasons. Think about yourself as a buyer. I don't ever buy anything without looking at reviews. I read the 1s and I read the 5s. I don't care about the middle ones because, they're just middle, but I'll read a handful of 5s and I'll read a handful of 1s. And often I will find that the 1s are people complaining about something silly that they didn't like. Either the packaging was messed up or talking about books specifically. Maybe the book got bent in the mail, or I've seen a couple of times where the wrong book was sent and they give a 1-star to the book that they should have gotten, which is so unfair, or they didn't like a character, or they didn't like an illustration or whatever. And I'm like, okay, those are just personal preferences. That has nothing to do with the book. I read the 5s. The point is people read reviews. So getting reviews from people is a very, very important part of your launch and your early marketing experience. All right. Then you have the whole side of editorial reviewers, which are newspapers, magazines, things like Kirkus, New York Times, Washington Post, big journals, big editorial review places, Blue Ink, Midwest Reviews. There's just a million places where you can send your book. The thing that you need to know about many editorial reviewers is that they can be harsh. Their job is to critique a book. They're not out there to say, rah, rah, shish, kumbah, this is the best book I've ever read, unless that's the truth. Their job is to point out what was good, what was lacking, if there was anything lacking. But generally, they try to bring a positive spin back to everything. But there can be some constructive criticism in those. Most of those, unless they're paid review sites, want to see a book at a minimum of 4, but more like 6 to 7 months prior to launch. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. And if you're going for a big launch where you really need powerful reviews behind it, keep that in mind in your timeline for planning for your launch, that you need a print book or at least a finalized interior. Because of COVID, a lot of people are accepting PDFs right now, but the normal standard is you have to send in a print book. So that means if you're going to be sending into some of these editorial review sites, you have to have a print book 6 months prior to launch to be able to send them that. So that puts a whole shift on your marketing plan. And when you do it, it's never a bad thing to get editorial reviews out of girl. It's never a bad thing, but some of them flat out out won't do it after launch. And there's a purpose to that. With editorial review sites, like their job is to be on newsworthy, right? Their job, especially the review sites on media sites, like they're putting out what's new and hot, what's up and coming, those types of things. So if your book's already published, it's no longer newsworthy. That's just a matter of fact. But there are plenty of indie sites that will review books after launch that don't have a timeline on them. And there are plenty of paid review sites. Kirkus will do a review for you at any time, as long as you're willing to pay them the $425, so that's something to keep in mind. But it brings a certain level of credibility to your book and legitimacy as well, which also helps with other people deciding if they want to sell a book or buy the book. Well, look at that. I already talked all the way through this slide. Reviews, 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 reviews. Reviews come from readers. So if I could boil down your book launch to anything, it's readers and reviews, readers and reviews, readers and reviews, and not worry so much. And this is a painful thing to people to hear. And I really, really empathize with you as a children's book author. I know, because I just paid a $17,000 bill to have books printed. And that's beyond the illustration. That's beyond the other things. Like, it is no joke to do a children's book. So to hear someone tell you reviews are more important than sales in the beginning feels like slap in the face, because you're like, I got to make this money back. Use school visits, use in-person events, use things like that as opportunities to sell your book in person and have the best impact and best return on investment for sales. But do your best at getting books into reviewers' hands ahead of time so that they can do the word of mouth marketing for you, the buzz and all of that. Amazon, at about 50 or more reviews, your book starts showing up in more places. It starts showing up in the also bots. It starts showing up as suggestions. It starts getting put higher in places for people to see it. And why is this? Amazon wants to sell. That's their whole job. They want to make money. They want to sell. So if they see things that people are reviewing and giving feedback on, and they're seeing a lot of positive stuff from it, they're going to start promoting those things. Often why they will discount your book too, or they're getting rid of returned copies when they discount. So if you can get over 50 reviews, you're going to start seeing other things happening from that. So that should be everyone's goal during your launch, is get to 50 or more reviews. We've been talking kind of about strategy throughout the process. So your goals is going to be based on what you want to achieve on launch day. So what are you trying to get? Are you trying to get bestseller status? Are you trying to go for 50 reviews? Are you trying to sell 500 books? What are your goals? Your strategy is going to be 100% goal driven. So if your only goal is to publish the book, then your goal is going to be achieved easily on launch day, right? If your goal is to get 50 reviews, what do you need to do that? How many people do you need to have the book in hand and sales in order to get 50 reviews? And luckily you all have children's books, so it's not going to take them a long time to read it. So even if they buy on launch day, hopefully you can get some reviews coming in shortly after that. But what does it take to get reviews? Think about it. You buy a book on Amazon. How many of you review every single book that you get? So not everybody does. So you have to factor in, if I want 50 reviews, then how many people have to be buying or reading my book for me to get 50 reviews, knowing that maybe 2 out of every 5 people will actually leave one. So thinking about things like that. Are you planning for your reader and your audience? Are you targeting those people? Are you talking to them? Are you running ads to them? How are you getting in front of your reader and that audience? What's your time frame? Are you doing a short launch, or are you going to have a long tail where you can actually get your book into the hands of people? What type of budget do you have? You need a budget for launch. Anybody who tells you can launch for free is lying to you. Well, it's not a straight lie. You can launch for free. You can put your book on Amazon and share on your social media and send out a couple emails and not spend a dime. But unless you have a large email list, or unless you have a lot of friends who are sharing for you, like, you're going to have to do some other kind of investment of marketing. I don't necessarily mean paying somebody $1,000 to do XYZ. I mean, you got to create graphics. If you're building an email list, you've got to have an email CRM and your website and all of these things that have some associated cost with it. But it doesn't hurt also put some money behind some strategic marketing. So knowledge of your genre, it comes down to, like, what's the norm for your age range of your group, knowing what you're going to want to talk to about, have for those things, have your book done and all of those types of things. And then what's going to be of interest to the people that are following that genre and as you're creating and growing your platform. Okay, we've talked a lot about the reader, so I'm not really going to go too much to here, but I just want to say, as you're thinking about how to engage with people online, ask questions. A lot of people say all the time, what's important to know about your reader? And you can find those things out just by asking them questions, what they want, what they're interested in, and see what they're engaging in when you post it out there. Okay, in terms of the launch time frame, what stage is your book currently in right now? Are you done? Is it ready to go? Are you able to buy print copies even in that advanced format? Do you have an e-copy that you can send to people where you're at? What I say is as soon as you have a formatted book, even if you're still in the process of making some tweaks here and there, once your book has been laid out, like it's ready for you to send to readers. And I would encourage you all from the time that you have that PDF that you can send out to people to start doing endorsements or early reading reviews for you is a solid 3 months. That's the time frame that I like to build up enough momentum, enough buzz, grow your email list, talk a lot about things that are going on, plan for the things that you want to do, and all of those things. And I want to tell you, talk to your local schools and teachers if you're not a teacher. If you are a teacher, you have a huge leg up. I mean, I have a child in 4th grade right now. I know all of their elementary schools because she's the youngest of 3. I know all their teachers. Wouldn't be that hard for me to reach out to them and say, I'm publishing this book or I'm writing this book. Here's what it is. Here's what I want to do with it. Like, will the school support me? And I'm sure, I had 3 kids go through the same elementary school. They know the Bigwarfe kids. They know our family. Like if I was to go to the principal and say, I just did this, like at a minimum, she would let me come in and do an author visit. And maybe they do more than that, or you can work with a PTA on a budget or all kinds of things. So ask the questions. But those are the types of things you start planning in advance so that when the book comes out, you're ready to do these things. You have copies, you're lining up these opportunities, and you're not just waiting until later. I talked about budget. Here's some of the things that we consider in our budget. $500, I think, is a fair amount to assess if you're looking at the cost of ordering print copies of your book, the shipping, and anything else that goes along with giving copies out. And when I say, listen, there's influencers and then there's influencers, right? So the word influencers has become popular amongst people who are growing really big audiences on social media and doing this and that. But let me tell you, you are an influencer, whether you realize it or not, because of the way of social media. Like all of us have a platform, but anybody who has an audience anywhere can be an influencer. So don't just necessarily think that the most important people to get your book in front of are people with thousands and thousands of followers. You may have a mom in your community that has 500 friends on Facebook, but every time she says something, everybody listens, or on Instagram or something like that. They are influencers too. And remember when I also said that word of mouth marketing is the most important thing? This is especially true amongst moms. We share each other's stuff. We tell each other, we give each other things. If we've got something, we want our moms to know it. We talk about it at the playground. We talk about it after school. We talk about it. We talk. Okay. So moms are incredible influencers because of this word of mouth. So don't throw people out with the bathwater just because they don't have thousands of followers. People can be an influencer just because they have something that their community wants to hear. Okay. A Goodreads giveaway, best $119 you can spend. It's where people who love books hang out. And they geek out on their books. They share about their books. They review books like crazy. They join forums together to talk about books. Like, it's a great place. For $119, you can list a book and a giveaway. I always do a print copy. That way we get addresses, physical addresses. We can mail out books. You can give away as many as you want. I usually do 3 because it's budget friendly. It's enough to get people excited in it. I like to run ours for 2 to 3 weeks prior to launch, have it end right before launch. So if people didn't get chosen, they're fresh on the brain. If they're like, I really wanted that book, well, now it's available on Amazon so they can go get it or wherever they want to go buy it. You get the mailing address addresses. You can send them the book, a signed copy, a little note, slide in your little marketing card or your personalized note that says, thanks for entering the giveaway. I really appreciate it. And I hope you love this book. Would you be so kind as to leave a review on Goodreads and any other place that you'd like to when you're done with it? And feel free to gift this copy to someone else when you're done with it so that you can continue passing along, pay it forward kind of thing, right? Okay. If you're hiring somebody to help you market, to do research, all these kinds of things, this, pricing can be varied. Marketing and ad spend, $1,000 is a really low estimate depending on what you're trying to do. But I'm going to tell you, you can put forth some pretty solid marketing efforts for $1,000. My favorite way is when we could have good old fashioned book launch parties together, which now we can again, get people to come out, have a party, give them some wine. Don't give them wine if that's not a thing for you, but, and have a fun evening where they want to support you. And then get them to buy some books and make them buy books for their kids' friends and their friends' and all those kinds of things. Swag, giveaways, things like that just make it more fun. You can do 0, you can do 100, 500, whatever your budget is for stickers, postcards, other things that you're going to give away. And then paid promos and review sites. These really depend. If you're only running one time, they can be much, much lower than this. But a paid promo or review site are sites that build curated list of readers. There's sites like Fussy Librarian, Written Word Media, other places like that. They do children's books a lot of times. They're not always their largest lists, but they still tend to have thousands of people on there. The problem with these is that because of, as like April was talking about at the beginning with the delivery fee for books, we can't ever put our books on for free on Amazon, because imagine if 1,000 people actually claimed your book and you had to pay Amazon $2 for every delivery fee for it, right? But you can do it discounted. I think they allow you to go up to $2.99. So most of the time, you can discount your children's book to $2.99 or even $1.99 and still be okay, depending on the size of your book. Usually our delivery fees run about 50 cents. So even discounting it down to $1.99, you're still in a margin of making some money. Throughout this presentation, I've talked about all of these things on growing your author platform. We haven't gone into a whole lot of detail on a lot of these, but there's a lot of ways to do this. Podcasts are an incredible way. Summits, showing up in front of other people's groups like this. So don't limit yourself to thinking about, I've written a children's book, so I'm only going to talk to people who are going to buy children's books, as in teachers, moms, et cetera. Think about, again, people who are interested in this topic as a whole. Think outside the box when it comes to who you can connect with. And in-person events are always going to get you better connections than anyone else. The children's book world is thriving right now, but it's also hyper competitive. And there are a lot of really, really good books out there with big marketing dollars behind them. So you have to make sure that you are getting your own little world built with people who are going to support you and share about you and create that ripple effect. And that happens by you knowing what's important to people who want your book, knowing how to talk about it, providing value and doing those things, and growing your readers all the time, creating buzz. I will say, this is a good example of marketing yourself and your book in the same place. Like Linda, who launched a memoir about travel, she did a great job of balancing between stuff from her book and balancing stuff from her life and balancing travel and pulling in people who loved those types of things. Okay. So hi, it's me. I have ADHD. It actually was a book that was published through another company before she came to us, unhappy with what was going on with the other company. So we did a republish for her. We did a total relaunch. We did a major focus on connecting with influencers. We changed her pricing. Prior company had her paperback book listed at $19.99, which I was like, I don't know anybody who pays $19.99 for a paperback children's book. We changed the formatting slightly. She found media spots and connected with experts. She really created a niche for herself in the marketplace of talking about the struggles of ADHD as a woman with ADHD, but also as a mother of children with ADHD, the challenges that kids have, the challenges that parents have, the challenges that teachers have. We sent copies to influencers. She launched a podcast, very aggressive on her Instagram. If you go look up Caitlin Mabry, she's built in the last year and a half, she's up to over 13,000 followers on Instagram. And she does reels on a regular basis where it's just lovely little short reels, sometimes set to music and she's being silly, sometimes like pointing at words and just letting people know, this is ADHD, this is ADHD, this is those types of things, and connecting with her audience. She's my number one seller by hundreds of books per month. We are not doing any paid marketing for this woman. She is doing it all by just talking to her community, by just putting out a message that they care about. And she's doing so well that we decided to move off of print on demand and to do a full print run of paperback and hardcover books because she's selling that many books. And if you haven't had the joy of selling a hardcover book on Ingram Spark yet, just prepare yourself to make about 23 cents a copy. So we decided we wanted to, well, at least that's for me as a publisher because I have to split it with her too, but the margins are so slim if you're giving the 50 to 55% discount and pricing at a reasonable point. So anyway, she's selling to a point that we know we can do this, but she is doing this. Like I did the things as a publisher that I needed to do to publish her, to set her up for success. But then she is communicating with her people, talking about the things that are of interest to them. And all of you have a topic that people are interested in, or you wouldn't be writing about it. Anyway, when she launched, she did for a book that had already sold at 500 copies with her first publisher. We launched it on paperback and hardcover at second and third in children's learning disorders, which is a big category. Here's what I'm talking about. Like when you get out in front of people, 124 reviews as of January 14th to 2020. So that was 6-7 months after the launch, 5 months after the launch, just from talking about her book and getting people to read it and review it. It starts to circle like a snowball, and it has that snowball effect once you're getting out there and doing that. If you've hit your niche market, she has hit her market and they want to talk about stuff like this. This is a great example of the power of reels and utilizing Instagram in an effective way. This was her in September of 2020. She had 4,000 followers. And since then, she's now almost at 14,000 followers from doing consistent reels, consistent posts that are just speaking to her audience about the themes of her book and what she's teaching. And I know some themes are easier than others to get into. So pull out your creative hats as authors and figure out how to get into those. Okay, Rupert Snowman, this is the other one that I was telling you about. Rupert Snowman launched also in September of 2020. And this huge campaign for advanced readers. We gave away hundreds of copies of this book, and it had great results on Instagram. To this day, if you look up the hashtag Rupert Snowman, you will see all kinds of fun posts all over Instagram about this book. And the unfortunate part is it's a seasonal book. As you can tell, it's about Christmas. So this was one thing that we learned was that seasonal books, you only have a short window every year. We have between September and January to market this book every year. And this was back in 2020. So she's got far more reviews than that by now. And the book, as we marketed it again last Christmas, and we'll market it again next Christmas, and it's going to slowly do its thing. But we learned our lesson, and her next book is coming out. It's called Emma's Sunflower. It's a more evergreen book. So that's another thing to think about when you're putting out these books is it going to be evergreen, or is it going to be something that you can only market at certain times of the year? And I was showing you there's a difference between ratings between the UK side and the US side. She only had 34 because some of them were on the other side. But again, this was right after her launch. We were able to get up to 34 reviews in just a couple of weeks, which was great. But here's when I was talking about Goodreads. Like, even though she had 34 bookstore on Amazon. Before we even launched her book officially, before it even published, she had 76 ratings on Goodreads and 69 reviews on Goodreads. And that little giveaway that we ran had over 1,700 people add it to their bookshelves. So what this means, if you're not familiar with Goodreads, I'm just going to tell you really quickly, is when somebody enters a giveaway, they add it to their shelves. Whenever anybody takes any kind of activity on Goodreads, if you're following them, if you're their friend, it shows up in the activity wall. So other people see it and it goes out and notifies the people that are following you. So this hot new releases for Christmas. I don't know if any of you have ever published a Christmas book. That is one of the toughest categories out there. You're competing against all the classics, right? So we were super proud that we were happy to get her up there and growing through the categories. And this was obviously early because she only had 12 reviews at that point in time. So again, the activities were so much fun. You can come up with activities that go along with your book that you can share with them. Her book has a theme of empathy. So she created empathy goggles and had a little exercise for kids to do with empathy goggles. I mean, it was just so much fun. A lot of the influencers that we partnered with did activities and put them out. Here's one of our influencers, Story Baskets. If you have a children's book, that's a great person to connect with. She did a whole activity and a 5-image post along with her review of it. It was amazing. She had kids around the world read her book and put them on YouTube. That was amazing. What a great way to get your word out there. Do not hesitate to let people read your book on YouTube. Like, that is the best free marketing you could possibly get. So Nora Reads is a children's book influencer on YouTube. Check her out. See if your book might be a good fit for her as well. And they did a great job posting about Rupert Snowman. Relationships matter so much. That is just like making connections with people and getting them to see and understand how they need what you're putting out there is important, and vice versa. Images, people love images. So that's why I love Instagram as a tool to use as your growing platform. Images and videos, TikTok, Instagram, like those are the places to be right now. And it does not have to be videos of you. There's lots of great ways to do videos and to be successful with reels. People like authenticity. What makes you different? What makes you connect with them? What makes people feel? And also influencers. Like, if you can connect with big influencers, maybe you haven't had a great experience with a big influencer yet, but I'm telling you right now, if Reese Witherspoon held up a copy of your book and said, "This is the best children's book I've ever read," your book would skyrocket through the roof. You would have millions of followers. Like, that's the way it happens. You know, we often work with influencers that aren't the Reese Witherspoon level, right? So you can't expect that kind of response, but people do take advice from people that they respect and share. So make sure that you're reaching out to the right influencers, the right people that are going to have the right audience. And that's why I said that moms can be such important influencers and teachers, even if their audiences look so much smaller, their audiences are more the right audience. They are the audience that's going to take note and connect.
This has been really wonderful. You can send me information about the book launch in a box. I would love to know what's involved in that for myself personally, and for others that I know who are coming up on book launches, or they've got something coming in a few months and they want to get involved in that. I know these programs are so important, and how well you launch does make a huge difference in how well your book does as well.
So we have 2 different versions of this. We have our book launch in a box on demand, which is for the beginner author who doesn't have a website or a landing page, who doesn't have an email CRM, who doesn't have an email sequence, who doesn't have all of these types of things, who isn't on Instagram or is on Instagram, but is not using it as an author yet. So that's our first one. It's an on-demand program. We have our full program that is a 12-week live program that is more advanced. We dig into the really advanced stuff. Well, I say really advanced. We get into the implementation of getting editorial reviews, the timeline for that, finding reviewers, what teams you should use, visibility, how you get on the news, and like all those kinds of things. So yes, I'll share those links with you and you can get them out to
Yeah,
you.
that's no problem. And for those of you who are here and who don't know me or who don't know my program, but you think you may be interested in doing something like this in the future, I do have a new cohort coming starting in June for a 12-week author work group where we are going to be rolling out or taking you from, hey, I just finished my manuscript to I'm ready to launch my book. Stay tuned. Make sure you're part of my mailing list. You can visit me at selfpubmadesimple.com and more information will be posted on my website and going out to my mailing list. So lots and lots of great things coming, lots of other meetings like this. And we are really just very happy to have you. And thanks for hanging out with us today. And I hope to see you again soon. We got lots and lots in the works. And thank you again, Alexa, for all of your time today. This was really fantastic. Have a wonderful evening.